He should find somewhere that doesn't have an extradition treaty with Britain, or he will be spending time at His Majesty's pleasure. Extraordinary. Just to be very clear, there is now a realistic path to Prince Andrew ending up behind bars, ending up jailed. The Metropolitan Police have been accused of fudging investigations in the past, and the National Crime Agency was lobbied by MPs 20 years ago, yet nothing happened. However, new information has emerged, and sources claim that this time, things are different. There's a massive sea change within both Buckingham Palace and Westminster about Prince Andrew's future and the action now being demanded from the king by senior courtiers, the country's top politicians, and even his own son. Many royal insiders argue that this can't just be about Andrew. It has to mark a reshaping of the entire British royal family, including the possible stripping of princely titles and HRH status from Harry, Meghan, Beatrice, Eugenie, Archie, and Lilibet. One man who has been at the forefront of Prince Andrew's downfall is Andrew Loney, the author of the bombshell bestseller that first ignited public scrutiny of the Duke. Despite the farcical announcement last week regarding Andrew's royal status, Loney insists that the crisis is far from over and that new revelations could see Andrew in jail. According to Loney, the situation has shifted dramatically over the weekend. He explains that the recent announcement from the palace didn't go far enough. It was mere window dressing. The public, he says, is far ahead of the palace and government, much like the outcry following Princess Diana's death, when the monarchy had to quickly adapt to public sentiment. Loney's research reveals that the palace protected Andrew for years, ignoring complaints sent to the Queen and her secretaries. Even when Andrew was caught in scandals, he was rewarded with new honors. His role as trade envoy, for instance, was rife with allegations of exploiting his royal position for personal gain, a pattern shared by his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. The hope within the royal circle had been that the deferential press would allow them to move on from these issues, but the public has grown weary of cover-ups. Prince William, seeing the reputational damage Andrew has caused, now believes the monarchy's image has been infected by his uncle's behavior. Politicians, long silenced by party discipline, are now under pressure from constituents to strip Andrew of his titles. Loney notes that it would be simple to do so. Queen Margrethe of Denmark stripped her grandchildren of their princely titles through letters patent. With 80% public support for similar action in Britain, parliamentary time could easily be found to pass legislation. But beyond titles, Loney insists that the real issue is whether Andrew should face criminal charges. He believes there's evidence of misconduct in public office, citing occasions when Andrew used his trade envoy position to benefit Jeffrey Epstein's business or those of financier David Rowland. Loney also points to unexplained sums of money appearing in the accounts of Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, and even one of their daughters, suggesting a wider network of financial corruption protected by the institution itself. This, Loney says, could be the most serious royal crisis since the abdication of 1936. A potential trial could overshadow the end of King Charles III's reign and the beginning of King William V's. Despite past failures, Loney maintains he has additional information not included in his book for legal reasons, evidence he's offered to share with the National Crime Agency. While he hasn't yet handed it over, he insists it warrants investigation, claiming that some of this evidence was presented to the Queen's private secretary years ago, but dismissed. Loney emphasizes that Prince Andrew has repeatedly lied about the extent of his relationship with Epstein, as proven by recent email releases, and has consistently refused to cooperate with law enforcement or provide testimony. Loney further claims that Andrew and Sarah Ferguson stayed at Epstein's residences regularly, and that Ferguson herself should be called as a witness. There are also shocking allegations from Virginia Giuffre's book, suggesting one of Andrew's encounters with her was an orgy involving Epstein and several young women, possibly underage. Loney admits it's difficult to prove because many of the girls were flown in from Russia, often without documentation or photographs, but he insists that everything in the newly published book was carefully fact-checked. When asked about claims that Giuffre was raped by a prime minister, Loney confirms he knows who she was referring to, though not a British one. He mentions that Tony Blair had been connected to Epstein, and certain material about him had to be removed from Loney's book for legal reasons. He believes the story is far from over, with more revelations expected from upcoming publications and investigations in the U.S. Senate. He predicts a tsunami of revelations that could expose perpetrators and place Andrew very much on the ropes. Meanwhile, political pressure in Westminster has grown rapidly. Within 24 hours, the tone among MPs changed dramatically. During Prime Minister's questions, Ed Davey raised the matter of Royal Lodge, urging scrutiny of Crown Estate arrangements. Under pressure from his own cabinet and backbenchers, the Prime Minister agreed that all Crown properties must face proper scrutiny, a massive moment signaling a shift in Parliament's willingness to address royal accountability. Loney welcomes this, calling for more transparency, including lifting royal exemptions from the Freedom of Information Act and establishing a royal register. He also demands a full parliamentary investigation into Andrew's time as trade envoy, especially in Kazakhstan and Ukraine, where, he alleges, Andrew's activities were questionable. Behind palace walls, tensions have grown between King Charles and Prince William over how to handle not only Andrew, but other controversial royals. William reportedly wants a formal letters patent to strip Andrew not only of the Duke title, but even his right to call himself Prince. He also wants Beatrice, Eugenie, Harry, Meghan, and their children removed from royal status. Charles, torn between loyalty to his son and brother, hesitates, but Loney believes it's necessary for Charles to act before losing control entirely. William, he says, envisions a streamlined, European-style monarchy, less sentimental and more pragmatic. Charles, focused on his legacy, seems increasingly willing to defer to William's governance, signaling a transitional phase toward a new reign. Adding to the crisis, even Andrew's immediate family appears to be turning on him. Reports suggest Sarah Ferguson, once unwaveringly loyal, may now be seeking distance. His daughters Beatrice and Eugenie, once seen as innocent victims, are now facing scrutiny for their financial dealings and associations. Loney notes that unexplained funds passed through one daughter's account, and questions have been raised about their connections to Saudi banks and Middle Eastern business interests. He believes they are attempting to separate their personal brands from their father's scandals. Ferguson's loyalty, he suggests, was largely tied to the privileges of being associated with Royal Lodge and Andrew's royal status.